not. Welcome to the Ravenswood City School District Regular Board Meeting of April 27th, 2023. The board meeting is called to order at 6:30. I'm going to start with roll call, or if there are any public speakers, you can complete the yellow form that Maria has. And then I'm going to go ahead and start with roll call, which is, we will start with trustee Bronwyn Alexander.
Here.
Trustee Shabomahin.
Here.
Trustee Latu is absent as right now, but she is running late. Trustee Nunez is absent, and I myself, Jenny Varghese Bloom, am present, and we have quorum. We're going to move on to item 2, approval of the agenda. Do we have any questions or comments regarding the agenda?
Through the chair, I would like to remove item 7A from the consent agenda because I was not there at the special board meeting.
Thank you. And I see no comments from the floor, so I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda, pulling item 7A.
I'll make a motion. I'll say.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 3-0. So we will now move on to closed session. Do we have any members of the public who would like to address anything that is agendized for closed session? As I see none, I will go ahead and adjourn to closed session at 6:31. Thank you.
choose the spiritual background, choose my background, I self view. ¿Le pusiste Spanish Interpreter con tu nombre? William.
No. Mute.
Welcome back. We will reconvene open session at 8:13 PM. So the report taken in closed session for item number 3A, there was discussion and a motion was made by trustee Shabomihin, seconded by trustee Alexander. And the action failed by a vote of 3-0 with one abstain. Sorry, 0-3. So action failed 0-3 with one abstaining. And the vote was trustee Alexander, no, trustee Shabomihin, no, myself, trustee Bloom, no, and trustee Latu abstaining. We will move on to item number 3B, conference with legal counsel. There was discussion, no action was taken. For item number 3C, there was discussion, no action was taken. I will now move on to item number 6, which is from the floor. Do we have any public speakers who would like to address anything that is not agendized? This is the time to do so. So we do not have any public speakers, so I will move on. For item number 7, we have the consent agenda. Are there any questions or comments? And this is for the consent agenda with item 7A pulled. So I will entertain a motion from the floor to approve the consent agenda with item 7A pulled. So we can, okay, we'll do item number 7A first. So I will entertain a motion to approve item 7A, which is the consideration to approve the April 3rd, 2023 special board meeting minutes.
Through the chair, from my understanding, we can't approve that because we don't have the 3 that were present. So this item would only be voted upon by the three members that were present during the special meeting.
So we have 3 board members who were present during that meeting. Trustee Alexander was on Zoom. Yeah.
Through the chair, I move to approve item 7A.
I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0 with trustee Shabomihin abstaining. Okay, now I will move to approve the consent agenda. So I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Through the chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
One second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 4-0. All right, we will move on now to special recognition, which is item number 8A, the Staff Appreciation and Recognition Award.
Especial.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. I have the honor and privilege of now announcing our Star Award recipients for this evening. Our Staff Appreciation and Recognition, or STAR Awards, is designed to recognize some of our many outstanding employees for their commitment to education, their skill, and their willingness to go above and beyond for students and or their colleagues. Our STAR Award categories are for those employees who demonstrate one or multiple characteristics in our CSTP2, which is creating and maintaining effective environments for students, because we believe that it is our responsibility to promote social development and responsibility in a caring community, and or one of our core values of integrity, student-centered innovation, excellence, empowerment, and respect, and or demonstrating our anti-racist commitment, because we realize and we stand on the fact that racism has no place in Ravenswood. So for tonight, employees who are being recognized for their efforts in demonstrating CSTP2 are Anisha Agrawal, Jamie Harrison, Megan McKinney, Suzette Flores, Shannon Hickey, Greta Wagner, and Ashley Powell. They were nominated by Jennifer Gravum, Executive Director of Education Services, because this team was so incredibly supportive. IEPs can be incredibly stressful when working with lawyers, but this team was amazing in sharing the support and how well they know our students. This team worked cohesively and collaboratively in support of their students, and they knew the parent and student incredibly well and worked together as a strong team to provide them all of the individualized supports that they needed. So we would definitely like to recognize our Castaño School of the Arts IEP team, and thank you for your contributions to our students and our staff. Our next core values Star Awards recipients are from Los Robles, Ronald McNair, the custodial staff, Jose Maldonado and Margarito Ledesma. And they were nominated by Principal Alex Quesada, who said that he is happy to recognize these as our exceptional employees who consistently go above and beyond in their role. They are not only reliable and dedicated, but also incredibly flexible. They are always willing to take on new tasks and adapt to changes in the workplace, showing remarkable agility and resilience. And we are fortunate to have such a consistent and flexible employees on our staff, and their contributions are truly appreciated. So thank you so much, Jose Maldonado and Margarito Ledesma. Again, on behalf of the Ravenswood School District, we would like to thank all of our employees, particularly the ones named this evening, for their contributions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the staff, from the board? Yeah, I will just say on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for all of the work you all do, especially the Castaño team and the Los Robles team. We know that we can't go where we want to go with our students without committed staff. And so we just thank you so much for the work that you put in and the sacrifices you put in and just the ways that you love our students on campuses. So thank you so much. We will go ahead and move on to item number 8B, which is the consideration to approve the resolution of 2022-2023 Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
Through the chair, I move to approve item 8B.
Do I have a second?
Oh, second.
I will read the proclamation. Whereas Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month is an important time to recognize and celebrate the significant contributions of Asian Americans and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders to the history of the United States and to honor the AANHPI community. Whereas this month provides an opportunity to acknowledge and uplift the Pacific Islander community, which represents one of the largest student populations within our schools and community. Whereas we also recognize and honor the leaders, staff, families, and all those who have contributed to making our schools and community more diverse and vibrant by sharing their unique history and culture. Whereas we acknowledge the challenges faced by the AANHPI community, particularly the recent increase in violent crimes and injustices towards the Asian community. Whereas we celebrate that diversity within the AANHPI community, which includes people of many different ethnicities, languages, religions, and cultural backgrounds. Whereas we recognize the contributions of AANHPI individuals in a variety of fields, including science, technology, arts, politics, and more. Whereas we emphasize the importance of education and awareness in promoting understanding and appreciation of AANHPI culture and history, and encourage schools and community organizations to incorporate AANHPI Heritage Month into their programming and curriculum. Whereas we call attention to ongoing issues affecting the AANHPI community, such as discrimination, xenophobia, and other forms of prejudice, and highlight efforts to address these issues. Whereas we encourage community members to engage in acts of solidarity and support for the AANHPI community, such as attending cultural events, supporting AANHPI-owned businesses, or volunteering with local organizations that serve the community. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Ravenswood City School District proudly proclaims in May 2023 as Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month and commits to promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion within our schools and community. We encourage all members of our community to join us in celebrating and honoring the rich, diverse culture and contributions of the AANHPI community and stand in solidarity with those who face discrimination and prejudice.
All in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Or the resolution is approved 4-0. We will now move on to item number 8C, the consideration to approve resolution number 2022-2023, the California Day of the Teacher.
I'll make a motion to approve item 8C, the proclamation resolution 2022-2023-24 for California Day of the Teacher.
Do I have a second?
I second.
And I'll go ahead and read
Yes.
the proclamation. Whereas proclamation resolution number 2022-2023-24, California Day of the Teacher, May 10th, 2023. Whereas our teachers serve our community and nation with immeasurable value through their unwavering dedication to excellence and commitment to their students. Whereas teachers not only impart academic knowledge, but also provide guidance, support, and encouragement to their students, helping them succeed in all aspects of life. Whereas the teachers of the Ravenswood City School District are true champions for children, schools, and community, educating and motivating students with unique needs and ensuring that they succeed. Whereas the people of the state of California have traditionally recognized the second Wednesday in May as Day of the Teacher, a special observance that honors teachers and the teaching profession. Whereas the Day of the Teacher should be a day for local education agencies, parents, guardians, caregivers, public officials, and the community to recognize the dedication and commitment of teachers who are educating our children. Whereas the Ravenswood City School District is home to many exemplary teachers who have made a crucial difference in the lives of their students. Whereas the board urges families, students, and the community to publicly show their appreciation for teachers and their significant contributions that improve our daily lives, our community, and our future. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Ravenswood City School District acknowledges the contributions of all dedicated teachers and officially recognizes May 10th, 2023 as California Day of the Teacher.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. I will move forward with item number 8D, consideration to approve the resolution number 2022-2023 through 25-25 week of the classified employee.
Through the chair, I'll make a motion to approve item 8D.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Wait,
Oh,
I
sorry.
have to read it.
Yeah.
Didn't realize. Okay, proclamation, resolution number 2023-25, classified school employee week, May 21st through 27th, 2023. Whereas the Ravenswood City School District recognizes that the success of its educational programs is largely due to the dedicated work of its classified school employees. And whereas the classified school employees are the unsung heroes who keep the school district running smoothly and ensure that students receive a quality education. And whereas the contributions made by classified school employees are essential to maintaining the exceptional level of service that benefits the entire educational community. And whereas classified school employees provide valuable instructional and support services to the schools and students in the Ravenswood City School District schools. And whereas the state of California has long recognized the vital role of classified professionals in education, declaring the third week of May as Classified School Employee Week since 1986. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Ravenswood City School District proudly celebrates Classified School Employee Week from May 21st through 27th, 2023, and expresses its heartfelt gratitude and appreciation for the invaluable contributions made by classified school employees to the success of its educational programs and the well-being of its students. Passed and adopted, not passed and adopted yet. There we go.
All right, thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. I will move on to item number 9, which is the consideration to adopt the 2023-2024 school year declaration of need.
Yes, in place of Joan as HR Director, just a quick summary here is that the Declaration of Need for fully qualified educators certifies that there is insufficient number of certificated persons who meet the district's specified employment criteria for teachers with CLAD, English Learner Authorization, bilingual authorization in Spanish, and resource specialists, single subject teaching credentials, and special education. And so this does permit us to pursue individuals without those complete certifications, but obviously we'll do our due diligence to ensure that they're in programs to meet the qualifications to get their certification.
All right. Any questions or comments from the board?
To
As
the
I-
chair,
yes.
so is this similar to some of our administrative staff who went through? I'm giving an example of how we had administrative staff that didn't have the full credentials at the time, but we gave them the position whilst they were in school.
Right, and they are certified under the state of California under different pretense of being certified. So they may not have a clear certification, but they do have like an intern credential or
Can we talk about that clarity? So they have a certification that isn't the exact one that we need.
they do not have the certification that we exactly need, but they are certified under the state of California as they pursue a complete credential.
And does it give a timeline of when they need to complete that,
There is timelines.
which usually is ballpark?
I can't recall off the top of my head, but they continually have to revisit this each year.
Okay. That's it.
Any other questions or comments?
And just for the board just approved the fact that we don't have misassignments based on credentialing in terms of the Williams. And so we do meet compliance.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve this item.
I'll make a motion to approve item 9.
Do I have a second?
One second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain?
I will abstain.
Okay, so the motion carries 3-0 with 1 abstaining. I will move on to item number 10, the consideration to approve the resolution 2022-2023, a bond tax levy.
Good evening, trustees. We are making great progress wrapping up our construction at the middle school, and we're excited to really get in underway at Bellhaven. We expect next calendar year, starting January, to have basically expended all of the bond funds we have issued so far. So just remember, for members of the public, the life cycle of a bond, public approves it, they approve 110 million. We say we're going to need to spend 50 million. We issue that debt. We have cash on hand to pay contractors. That eventually goes to 0. We issue the rest of the balance of the debt, the other 60 million, to spend down that 110 million. So the 50 million that the board approved to finish the middle school, we expect to be fully expended next year. What we're asking the board to approve today is a resolution for us to give to the county that tells the county, hey, we expect to run out of bond funds on hand and will therefore need to do an issuance next year. That allows them to place these funds on the tax rolls, which allow us to start collecting money earlier, which allows us to use those funds to pay off the principal debt faster, which means a lower payment burden on our community over the course of the debt. So this is a very sort of wonky thing we're asking for tonight, and Shin's going to walk through our overall state of our bond finances. But what the board is actually being asked to vote on is a notification to the county to prepare to begin taxing members of our community so that our community pays less over the course of the bond. That's sort of the nuts and bolts of it tonight, but we're going to get as always, with Mr. Shin Green right in the details. And he's going to walk through the state of our bond finances, and then we'll have the board hopefully vote on that resolution.
Thank you, Will. Very quickly, I'd like to go over a presentation just to kind of give you a little bit of background on the district's bonds and the history thereof before you take action on the resolution. As Will had indicated, in addition to your core day-to-day mission of educating children, you also are charged with certain other activities, including the construction and maintenance of school facilities and facilities which are shared with the broader community. And oftentimes those school facilities are things that cost multiples of what your annual budget might be. The reality is that in California, given seismic concerns and other things, your schools are built to a much more robust standard than your typical single-family home or even commercial building might be. And with that comes some additional costs as well as the state's oversight of school construction. And so with regard to that, we frequently look to do things to expand our pool of funds for school construction, including seeking funding from the state, as well as looking to get general obligation bond, which you've had a number of those approved over the years. A GO bond, as our CBO has indicated, really is an authorization from your voters. Those voters approve an annual tax, which allows the bonds to be issued and repaid over a period of time. And your voters basically approve a maximum amount of bonds that you can issue within a given tax rate. Specifically to the district's bonds, there are a handful that are still outstanding, and they've all, at this point in time, that remain outstanding, been issued under Proposition 39. Proposition 39 allows for approval at 55% of GO bonds with a maximum projected tax rate limit, as well as some other transparency requirements, including annual audits, one of which you will be receiving tonight. Typically, once your voters have approved that maximum amount of debt, you will issue those bonds over a period of time in alignment with the projects that you have in front of you and the project needs. And as has been indicated, as you're running out of previous bond funds, you're now in a position where you now are going to be issuing additional bonds from this new authorization Measure I, which was approved in in June of 2022. Here you see a table which shows you the various bond measures. Each one of these 5 measures was approved by your voters. The first one being Measure U back in 1998, followed by Measure C in 2000. With respect to those 2 authorizations, those have all been issued, all the funds have been expended, and all of the bonds have been repaid. They no longer appear on your tax bills, and those have gone away. The 2 more recent that were approved and have been fully issued are your 2016 and 2018 measures, H and S, for a total of about $96 million in bonds. All of those have been issued. Those are the funds that we are working through right now to complete projects. And then finally, we have the new authorization, Measure I, which was approved in 2022, authorizing an additional $110 million worth of bonds to continue the projects that are underway. It's been very successful for the district, and overall, you've received approval for $206 million worth of bonds. Again, we issued 96 million, and we've got about 110 left to go. Our Measure H was warm, safe, and dry. It really was focused on getting to critical facility needs and repairs and maintaining the existing campuses. Subsequent to that, Measure S prioritized safety and modernization projects and really got us underway on the middle school project, which serves the entirety of the district. With the additional $110 million, which was approved, we anticipate that first issuance to occur in the next fiscal year. That's fiscal 2023-24. And that will provide funding for completion of the middle school, as well as some substantial improvements to all the other district campuses in terms of modernization and things of that nature. Again, we've issued all of the bonds from Measure H as well as Measure S, but those bonds will be refinanceable in 2026, so a few years from now. And we may be able to improve on tax rates through refinancing, but would point out that the district has had some really robust tax-based growth, which you'll see here on this table, which shows that you've had growth in excess of 20% in a few of these years, which is really rather remarkable. That strong tax-based growth has allowed us to really keep tax rates down. And in doing so, I'd like to just show you that with respect to the estimates we provided to voters over the years, we've always maintained rates that are below those estimates, and we've delivered these bonds at a repayment cost of less than what voters were told at the time of the election. So we've done really well at staying below the tax rates and delivering these at a cheaper cost than anticipated. Today you have the Measure S and Measure H, Measure SCS and Measure H tax rates, which total $41.50. Voter estimates for those were $60 in total. So we are well below where we would have anticipated for our tax rates. In here, you'll see some tables which show you details on each of the authorizations. I'll let you look at those at your own leisure. But the existing GEO bond programs, again, have all outperformed really. And if we're looking at Measure H, we were about $3.5 million less in repayment than what was estimated to voters. Specific to Measure S, we were roughly, let's see, about 10.6 million below our estimates to voters. So a total of about 14.1 million. Those bonds will also be repaid about 6 years prior to what we had anticipated originally. So a shorter repayment period at a lower cost. In combination, we have not exceeded 76% of the voter estimated tax rates for Measure S and H. And today we sit at 69% of those levels. So well below what we told voters. We do have another limit that's placed on bonds in California, actually a bonding capacity limit. As a non-unified school district or an elementary district, you are allowed to have outstanding bonds of 1.25% of the total assessed value of the district. That's commonly referred to as our bonding capacity limit. There's about $45 million of net capacity remaining for the district. I highlight this only because our $110 million, which was authorized, will eventually exceed the bonding capacity limit. But do want to let you know that with respect to Measure I, we can seek a waiver through the State Board of Education. And it is very common for the State Board to approve waivers up to 2 times the limits. That will be about 2.5%, giving us more than enough capacity. We do provide a projection over time here of what that would look like, but where we're looking at kind of using a very modest growth assumption, it would be roughly until 2030 or 31 before you would be back kind of below your statutory limit. And so we probably will be seeking a waiver in the next few years. Just putting that as a highlight, as something to look out for in the future. Specific to your Measure I, the newest measure, which was just approved, $110 million was authorized at a $30 tax rate per 100,000 of assessed value, raising that money with an estimated average annual repayment of $6.3 million per year for a period of 32 years. If we do continue to see tax-based growth being robust and return to somewhat lower interest rate environment than we are today, we are fairly confident that you will meet the goals that were outlined to the voters, and probably, as with your previous programs, outperform those. And tonight we are presenting to you kind of one of the next steps for Measure I, and that is over the next few months, we will be working on issuance of the first series for Measure I. The finance team will continue to work with the construction team to really hone in on the cash flows and make sure we're only accessing the money when we know we're going to need it in the near term future. And also incorporating any other potential sources such as state aid, which may come along, allowing us to maybe defer some of the issuances till a later date. But based upon our current programming, we are looking at somewhere between $40 and $70 million for the first series. If we go much beyond that kind of 40 amount, we will have to seek a waiver sooner rather than later. But for that issuance, we do want to get on the roll for 23-24. And because the roll is set essentially at the start of the fiscal year, and we do not anticipate issuing bonds until midway through the fiscal year, we'd like to have a levy on the roll. What that allows us to do is it allows us to collect the taxes for that year, as opposed to financing that first payment. That allows us to start making principal payments sooner, and also allows us to make the loan more efficient overall because we don't have to stretch it out as far with principal being paid sooner.
Through the chair, really quick question. Our fiscal years, are we going through the county's fiscal year or the district's fiscal year?
Those will be identical. June 30th is the end of the fiscal
got it.
year. July 1 is the start. Our technical deadline for submission of levy information is actually August. But we'd like to get the levy into them so they know we can prepare for it and understand. And what that does essentially is it sets us up to a place where we know we have revenue in place to bond into.
Okay,
we can
got it.
then use that revenue as efficiently as possible. I would highlight for this first year, we are not going to target the full $30 rate, rather 25, because we don't quite yet know exactly what tax-based growth will be next year. So if there is some sort of a soft kind of growth pattern, or if we have a little bit of a decline in tax base, we can accommodate that and still be below our $30 statutory limit. So looking out into the future, that's sort of what we're going to be targeting for this first one. I would highlight that the tax rate resolution provides an estimate of the debt service. We've used the biggest number possible for that of 70 million. We in all likelihood will issue something less than that. But really what this estimate is about is setting that first year's rate. Once that first year's rate is in place, we'll issue the bonds and they'll have an actual schedule after that to use. So the estimate is really just about setting next year's tax rate. With that being said, I think I've covered most of everything that we have here. But as you know, with the bond issuance, there is a rating process, and the whole process we go through does take a few months. We again are working on getting ourselves squared away on what the exact project need will be in the near term. And once we have that kind of identified, we'll hone in on that amount and kick off things, probably with an issuance that will occur sometime November, December, maybe as late as January. This resolution that you have before you tonight again authorizes the county to place the levy on in advance of that and puts us in a place to be very efficient. Beyond that, there's a big table of numbers that I have in the back with the original projection of what this was. I would highlight, we initially were looking at 4 series. We're probably going to collapse that down to 2 or 3 series of issuance. Will allow you to have less in issuance costs and be a little bit more efficient over time. And given the way the projects are rolling out, we think that'll all work perfectly for you guys. So with that being said, you have a resolution before you tonight to authorize a tax rate. That tax rate will be based upon estimate debt service that you see in Exhibit A. And with respect to that estimate, that first year was targeted to $25, giving us adequate cushion to ensure we don't go through the promises made to voters. With that, I'm happy to entertain any questions about the program or the resolution itself.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Thank you very much for your very detailed presentation, and I appreciate that we are able to issue this bond or to start construction right away after the voters voted yes on Measure I. So I will entertain a motion to I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution for a bond tax levy.
To the chair, I move to approve item number 10.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I think you have to read the.
Resolution requesting Board of Supervisors of the County of San Mateo to establish tax rate for bonds of the Ravenswood City School District expected to be sold during fiscal year 23-24 and authorizing necessary actions in connection therewith. Whereas, therefore, whereas.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shin, and I think apologies are probably in order to our translation team. I'm going to talk briefly through.
We're moving on to item number 11, which is this presentation on the approach to charter oversight. Thank you, Dr. Eager.
Now we're ready for that.
Continue.
Sorry about that. Just a quick presentation on charter schools. As the board knows, we have a couple of charter schools here in our district. We want to just provide a little bit of context on both the schools that we're currently serving, our oversight responsibilities for the state process, and as one of the schools is coming up in the near future, we just wanted to highlight sort of what that process will look like for the board to get any feedback about how we could do that process going forward. So just for quick context for the general public, we currently are authorizers for 2 charter schools that operate within our district boundaries, KIPP Valiant and Aspire EPACs. They both are TK to 8 schools serving around 600 students. You'll notice the KIPP petition. So that's KIPP's charter, which is their authorized permit to operate a charter school within our district. Expires not this June, but next June. The Aspire charter expires in 2026, 2 years after that. These dates were extended due to the COVID pandemic. So they were pushed back, I believe, 2 years automatically per the state. So California Ed Code outlines a couple of things that we need to do as an authorizing entity for these charter schools. Many of them are fairly basic. Identify someone responsive, visit each charter school, check that they're complying with various aspects of the law, monitoring their fiscal condition, and then obviously update CDE. We are allowed to do a couple other things. You may remember the board recently approved with KIP a facilities usage agreement and aligning that to the charter school. We may re-up that with Aspire. They similarly got sort of misaligned. But that authorizes us to provide some services to those schools and then ask those schools to reimburse us the cost of those services. So both KIP and Aspire reimburse us their share of the maintenance budgets based on the footprint of those sites. We also provide meal services, for example, to KIP. So there are sort of existing relationships that we have beyond our authorizing relationship. So the state guidelines are not necessarily asking a whole lot. There are some things that we do, and I think some things that frankly we want to do in a more robust way. So there's two sort of types of things that we're going to do or have been doing. One is just the annual oversight process, and the second is the much more robust process, which is the periodic renewal process. So the annual process happens every year. It's a little bit more informal. It involves them submitting data to us. This could be their annual audit. This could be their financial reports. This could be data on how their students are performing, their financial health, their governance. We can then follow up with those after reviewing the data with those districts and also conduct a site visit. As part of this annual process, there's no action the board typically would take. We have, I think in the last year or so, begun giving the board the charter schools financial reports just to accept those. But other than that, there's not really a lot the board is taking on an annual basis. The charter renewal process is a much more serious thing. This is a much more formal process. This doesn't happen nearly as regularly. It's not annual at all. It happens every 5 to 7 years, depending on how long that charter was renewed for, whether you read it for 5 or 7 years. As part of this, the charter gathers a lot of data about their performance, about other aspects of their school, and then prepares their petition, which is the formal document that they submit to the board, asking the board to authorize or reauthorize their charter. We review it, district staff reviews it, visits the school, conducts sort of an interrogation of the petition, and does prepare a recommendation for the board based on our findings. Along the way, we also host at least one public hearing during which the charter would present sort of their overall performance. The board then can take action to renew or deny the charter petition. The charter school does have rights to appeal that charter or appeal the board's decision should the board choose not to accept the charter petition. So we've done a bit of work on trying to think about what we want the charter schools to give us, and we appreciate some of the trustees who've been able to give us feedback on this report. I should have said this earlier, but just Allison Officer, who's on my team, is really taking the lead on this and done a fantastic job of pulling together, I think, a really thoughtful balance of information. So we're not just trying to collect a bunch of publicly available things that are going to inundate everyone, but what are the things that we really care about across a bunch of different dimensions. Those variables are included here, and the specific metrics we've also attached to the board's presentation in an Excel file that just goes through everything that we want the charter school to report to us. And it really, I mean, is a very comprehensive, holistic look at, what the school's doing, who's working at the school, how it's performing, how they're doing, engaging the community, including, thinking about things that frankly charter schools haven't done well on, around absenteeism or suspension rates, things like that. Ensure they're serving the full community in a way that they're legally obligated to do, and I think morally obligated to do as well. We also asked different things on the enrollment, and then follow that all up with a site visit. So that's all the data that we'll be collecting, and really the charter school will be collecting and presenting to district staff before it goes then to the board. Just in terms of the timeline, the timeline needs to be done at least 90 days before the charter expiration. Once they submit it, that kicks off a public hearing, the site visit, and then 15 days before the board meeting, we're required to provide our sort of findings and recommendations for this. In practice, I think charter schools are interested in submitting this, as far in advance as basically they can get away with. I think some of the charter schools really like to start this process this summer with the goal of them having, and frankly, the district having as much certainty as possible for next year. If the charter is going to be renewed, it's good to know that in advance so that we're able to, have the school plan our facilities use. If the charter is not going to be renewed, it'd be good for that to be resolved as soon as possible so that if we are going to be operating that school as a district, we have time to get our staff, ready to go. And there's sort of clear certainty that we will be operating that school the following year. So what we're asking for tonight is just direction on the approach that we're taking, the types of metrics that we're collecting along the way, or just answer any questions that the board may have about this process. Knowing that we haven't done one of these in a little while, we're also learning some things as well about how to do this effectively. So happy to receive any feedback, and that'll conclude this presentation.
Any questions or comments?
I have a question. On the slide where you list the components to the annual report, under the school site overview, it says provide links to board agenda, minutes, etc. Are these things not available now? And is this only suggesting that they're only available in this annual report? But no.
No, those should all be, this is a bit of a compliance check. The charter school, similar to the district, has an obligation to make those available on their website. So we're not saying upload for the first time. We're saying show us exactly where we can find these documents that are publicly accessible all the time as part of this check.
So they are, so you're saying they are accessible now. I can go in there, but that's what
They are legally required to be. I have not checked, in the immediate term, but they should be available on their website. And I know, for example, many of those documents are actually available on our website as well, just out of the full spirit of transparency.
Well, I know they are. I know ours are. I guess I'm
Sorry,
wondering
the
about
charter
theirs.
schools are
So
on our
theirs
website.
are on ours.
Exactly.
Some of these. Or all of these.
The charter petition and MOUs are, the budget and financial reports are. I am not as sure about the state required plans or their board minutes and agendas as being on our website.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Through the chair. So I have been perusing the spreadsheet, and I like it. Under the core question, is the charter school operating and governed effectively for measure 1A educational program implementation? There, it says that this measure takes on additional importance given recent changes to the California Charter Schools Act, where authorizers are now to consider whether a proposed model would duplicate a program already offered within the district. Does that mean that if the charter school is duplicating what the home district, is that the way we would phrase it, the governing district, what the district schools are doing, that then if it's duplicating what is already in existence, that then we wouldn't have to authorize them?
I think there's a lot of factors that go into the sort of board's decision to renew or not renew. I think this is one factor. I need to look a little more into that particular part of EdCo just to make sure I know exactly. I don't think a disqualifying answer on any single part of this is, it's not like they need to necessarily get yeses on everything for the board, again, to make their decision on whatever factors the board would like to make the decision on.
But does this mean that the state of California is now looking at charter schools as offering a unique program or as an alternative to the district's current program?
I think those are for the new charters who are trying to start here in the district. I don't believe this applies to the current charters, but we can look into that.
Can we make it apply? All right, thank you.
To the chair, thank you, Will, for this presentation. I think these are good things for us to keep in mind as we move forward, especially with some of these deadlines quickly approaching. I want to ensure that we are continuing to stay on top of the current charters that are serving our community. It's important that we are making sure that they're on top of the things that is regulated by the government. But I also like that you were making sure that there's a level of a holistic approach to it. So it's not like we're going in trying to dismantle everything, but we're just trying to ensure that if you are operating within our lines, that you're doing it in an equitable way that's also really serving the community that they're serving. And I just want to make sure that we are making sure to 1,000 degree that things are being taken care of, even if they're not directly under Ravenswood at this time.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? So thank you for the presentation. I believe this is an action item. Is that correct?
We're just seeking
No,
direction.
we're just receiving direction. So I believe the direction is, so I think that we just need to make sure that I'm saying the direction correctly. The direction is to continue in the process and the presentation that you provided regarding oversight over these charters. I do agree with the trustees that this is a good framework for us to be able to look at the services that are being offered the students in the Ravenswood City School District, and to be able to make sure that they are reaching our community. So I think the direction is to continue to move forward. I believe the direction from the board is to continue to move forward with these specific oversight proposals. Okay, thank you. I will move on to item number 12, which is the consideration to accept the school year 21-22 audit.
I'm pleased to present our completed audit for last year. This audit was delayed a little bit due to the pandemic and a little bit due to staffing challenges that our auditor faced. I'm pleased to report this is actually our second consecutive audit with no findings. You may remember the prior 5 years had multiple findings in each of those audits. So this really reflects just the hard work of not just the business office and Reese Matsumoto, our director of finance, Allison Officer again, our compliance coordinator, Margaret Thompson, our accountant, but really the whole district really pulling together to do sort of the right thing up and down the organization. I know this isn't necessarily the most exciting thing, and I hope we get to a point where the audit isn't really something we ever need to talk about. But I would just highlight there's a lot of good things that come from a clean audit that people maybe don't realize. One, this is helping get hopefully our credit upgraded, which just means a lower tax rate for our community when we do things like bond issuances. This also means for the first time in I don't even know how many cycles, we were not, randomly selected for federal program monitoring. That's when the state and the federal government review all aspects of our federal program spending. This is a huge time sort of suck, and a couple years ago resulted in the reversal of hundreds of thousands of dollars, or sorry, excuse me, millions of dollars. And so that kind of frees up our team to focus on actually helping our schools run more effectively. And so this is just sort of a good news cycle that we've had, and our finance teams. Just wanted to really shout them out for this, and just to appreciate the team for their second consecutive clean audit. Just, I don't know, the first time that's happened. I know, the most exciting audit news I think I'll probably ever have. That concluded very brief, just brief appreciation note for our business office team.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, I will entertain. Go
Through
ahead.
the chair, how do we ensure this happens over and over and over again? No, it's just.
What we're working on. It's what we're doing every day. It's what we're working on every day. And I know we're getting better and better. And I think it's getting easier and easier.
Yes. Thank you to the finance team for all of their hard work. I love always saying that everything is very transparent and accessible, and that is definitely because of the finance team. And just now we have even the proof that it is clear and accessible, and we're doing well. So thank you. So I will entertain a motion to accept the 2021-2022 audit.
I'll make a motion to accept the audit.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. All right, I will move on to number Item number 13, consideration to approve the contract renewal with Sodexo.
All right. We have been relying on Sodexo to run our school meals program over the last several years. Their contract was renewed, I believe, 3 times after their initial term expired. And we were, pretty happy to renew it, I think, for a 1-year option each time. This time we were no longer able to do that. So we had to sort of bring the whole thing back out to bid. So we put it out to bid. We got a couple of proposals. Sodexo, I think in reviewing this with the school lunch team and others, I think this became pretty clear the most compelling overall proposal and the one that we would recommend to the board that we move forward with. Sodexo is one of sort of several key parts to our school lunch program. So Sodexo provides the raw ingredients to our school lunch program. They also provide really invaluable insight and coaching to our staff. So over the last couple of years, we've really moved away from more prepackaged foods to more scratch cooking. And they've been, taking steps like bringing on an executive chef to help coach up our staff in helping prepare those types of meals. The staff is really the second key part. So when we think about, what makes a successful meal, it's not just, the grocery store you shop at. It also has to do with who's preparing the meal and what kind of chef they are, and also what kind of tools they're working with. I'm also pleased to report, over the last couple of years with Sodexo's help, we have really overhauled the actual infrastructure in our kitchen. Spent at this point hundreds of thousands of dollars replacing outdated ovens, blunt knife, big purchases like outdated ovens, small purchases like blunt knives. So we're really, I think, proud of the progress that we've made in our school lunch program, really moving away from packaged foods to a green forward menu. So overall, I think, we had the conversations with our kitchen staff about who they were looking forward to working with. The answer was really uniformly continuing our partnership with Sodexo. We do bring this to you because it is a large dollar amount contract. I would point out, of the bids we received, this was the most cost competitive offer. It is still a sizable increase. And I think that does reflect the pretty dramatic sort of food inflation that we've seen over the last few years. We do believe that with this proposal, Fund 13, which is where we manage our school lunch program, can continue to be financially balanced. And so even though there is a pretty notable increase in the total cost here, we think that's been offset by some of the increases in revenue coming into the district and our ability, frankly, to thoughtfully manage our staffing patterns in our school lunch program. So with that, I'll conclude the brief presentation. There's more notes in the board packet on the specific thing, as well as the contract.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Through the chair.
Yes.
I like Sodexo. And when I was teaching at Bellhaven, I was involved with the young chefs competition thing that the kids had. And I've watched how the school lunches have changed over the years since as I was working in the school. So that's it.
Just to confirm, the number of years for the contract is 3 and we can terminate at any point. I think that's what I read here.
That's exactly right.
Okay. This is a 3-year contract. District can terminate the contract for cause with notice. Any other questions or comments? I know that we learned that there may be some federal changes, and I assume that if there are federal changes to the lunch program, but I mean, that's years off, that Sodexo will help us with any possible programming issues that we may have.
There haven't, just to be clear, there's federal changes daily. And there's been a lot of state changes too in the last couple of years. And Sodexo has helped us purchase locally grown food. It's helped us prepare more scratch cooking. It's helped us get actually ahead. So, we were just talking now about some of the changes that we're seeing in the state of making us prepare more meals on site. And June Richardson, our sort of, in my mind, head of the food program, she does technically work for Sodexo, was kind of like, oh yeah, we hit those milestones 4 years ago. We're well ahead of, I think, where the state's going. So we're ready for whatever the feds can throw at us and the state too.
Yes, thank you. And I'll also say we got lots of recipes that were brought home by my two kids for things that healthy snacks and healthy desserts and things like that, because they got these really nice cards last week. So I came home to 3 different cards in my kitchen and projects that need to be worked on with someone from our house to cook in the kitchen. So thank you for that. So I will entertain a motion to approve the contract renewal with Sodexo.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. We will move on now to the superintendent's report.
Great. Good evening, trustees. I'm just going to give a brief highlight of some of the initiatives and actions we've been taking over the last couple of weeks. First, the superintendents in the Stanford Sequoia Collaborative have collectively decided to support the successes of 8th grade multilingual learners. In the sense that if these students score a 4 on the LPAC, each district will utilize a local assessment to confirm their fluency in English, and we designate them accordingly. We will provide advance notification to teachers and families of these students to ensure a smooth and efficient process. This approach will streamline compliance paperwork and help ensure that these students are genuinely ready to progress towards redesignation. Recently, we are trying to promote the positions that we have vacant here for employees locally here. And so we did present, Joan and I presented to Job Train to share current vacancies across classifications, clarified questions about certain roles, highlighted our benefits, and explained the hiring process and the typical turnaround from start to finish. So we hope that they spread the word. In addition, the executive team has sent out a 360 surveys to receive anonymous feedback on our leadership performance. The purpose of this review is to identify key strengths and areas for growth in order to develop strategies to increase effectiveness. Our ELA, ELD pilot and adoption process has been moving along as well. The pilot team was trained in EL education for the next phase of our curriculum pilot. Teachers on the team will pilot EL education from now through May, and we hope to make a clear decision between CKLA and EL education by the end of May and bring our recommendation to the board in June. We also held our second to last equity and leadership meeting for this year, where we considered what brings us to this work, reflected on what we learned from empathy interviews, and brainstorm next steps based on what we want to continue, stop and pause and start doing as it relates to our anti-racist statement and wanting to be more inclusive school district. And we are currently in the middle of a robust process to find our new site leaders and add to our amazing coaching team. We are hoping to find our site leaders by as soon as May 12th. We have also identified most of our ELA, ELD, and STEAM coaches for next year. And speaking of, well, CCRMS athletics, we have our tennis team and soccer teams currently competing in intramural sports with other school districts. And speaking of CCRMS, our middle school robotics team is currently in Texas for the VEX Robotics World Championships. And we wish them the best of luck as they're competing against other top teams from around the world. We also have, adding to the excitement of everything, over 100 8th graders in Washington, DC, exploring the national's capital. This is their annual field trip to Washington, DC, and they're experiencing American history and government firsthand. Board President Bloom and Trustee Latu and I were also in DC, and I'm sure they'll share more about that, but we had an opportunity to catch up with our 8th graders one evening at the Black Lives Matter Plaza and Dr. Martin Luther King Memorial, and then we also were able to connect with them for an hour over at the Black History Museum. And just to elaborate further, we attended the Coast to Coast Federal Advocacy in DC, where this is the second annual event. And what is quite phenomenal is that we are in a place in Ravenswood where we can actually take our advocacy to the next level. We are not addressing crises here in Ravenswood. We are being innovative in Ravenswood, and we were actually able to share, for example, our talent initiative to address some of the teacher shortage concerns that they were bringing and sharing with us, and policies that potentially we could push forward to improve the teacher shortage. But people were in awe of the initiative that we had started here in Ravenswood and actually asked us to come and speak. We were also advocating about special education. And we had the opportunity to meet our Congressperson, Kevin Mullins, and speak to him directly and advocated with other county superintendents and board members.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Through the chair, thank you for that report, Superintendent Sudaria. And I know you probably talk about it in the board reports, Trustee Latu and President Barnes Bloom, but I just want to extend my gratitude to the three of y'all for representing this district, representing our board, and our community in DC. Thank you.
Right, thank you. See no other questions or comments, so I will move on to item number 15, which is the board reports and communication. I can start. I know the Teaching and Learning Subcommittee met, and Superintendent Sudaria shared many of the things that we talked about during that meeting. I do know that there's the ELD, ELA curriculum adoption. And I believe we also talked a little bit more about the street data initiative that we are part of and how we move forward with that, and thinking about how we tell and present the stories and data from Ravenswood and students' growth in portfolio, so that we can look at different types of data and see how our students are growing and learning in our district. And then I don't know if any other members want to share from their subcommittees if they met.
We meet next week.
Okay. And then Trustee Latu, would you like to share about the CSD?
Well, I have other reports. So the city commission and committee seats are available for our community. So if you're interested in getting to know about public advocacy and joining our city in these capacities, there's openings in the planning commission, for East Palo Alto, rent stabilization board, public works and transportation commission, and the senior advisory committee. There's a meet and greet with our new city manager, city attorney, and police chief that's happening Thursday, May 4th at 6 p.m. at the YMCA. And lastly, we are gearing up for a really exciting time within our community. July 1st, we'll be celebrating 40 years of cityship. And so I just want to encourage members of the district and students and just the general public to get involved, because it's a history breaking time for our city, and it's really exciting. I feel like Superintendent Sudaria kind of expressed some of my same sentiments. So yes, that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you. I will say it was very fun to see our students, the 8th graders that are on that trip, and all the teachers that are with them. And I believe some of the staff as well that are with them, to be chaperones and see the hands-on learning that was happening, and hearing from their tour guides there and all the learning that's happening even on a trip, fun trip to the nation's capital. And it really connected the advocacy we were doing, because we're advocating for our students on a federal level, and our students were there. And so that was just a really great connection to make, to know that the work that we're doing, even if it's not in the classroom every day, that it's very meaningful. So thank you all here, the board, the staff, the team, the district office, the people who help with our audits and our bonds. All of the work you do really does impact each and every single student's experience in our district. So thank you. All right. As I see no other comments, I will move on to the next item, which is the consideration to approve resolution number 2022-2023, board member excused absence for the special board meeting for trustee Chabot.
Through the chair, I move to approve item 16.
I'll second that.
Whereas education code authorizes that hereby finds that trustee Strobel is excused.
All in favor, please say aye. Motion carries 3-0 with trustee Shabot abstaining. Well, she can't vote, so yes. And then we will move to item number 17, the consideration to approve board member trustee Nunez's excused absence for illness.
Through the chair, I move to approve item 17.
I'll second.
Whereas Education Code 35120 excuse trustee Nunez.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 18, which is the next regular board meeting will be held May 11th at 6:30 PM and open session will approximately begin at 7:15 PM. And so I now adjourn the meeting at 9:18 PM.